recording on this computer. There we go. And I'm going to share the screen. And this is the questions that Terry has Jesse. No, to be fair, I did not get involved in the technical side when we were doing to the heart of the matter. So
that's fine.
I just want to clarify any questions because this is it now, Terry.
Yep.
We have to move on this. So here's the question. Do you see that, everyone? Email list. Can we confirm that the email list is private and not to be open for others to use? This would also mean that we would not have access to a partner's mail list. Jesse?
Yes, and great question. Yeah, so the emails that we start with, the emails that you end up with at the end of the event, those are through your organization. So we keep that in the email company that I work with. It's always in a file. So at the end of the event, you will get a complete list of everybody that was a part of it, like in an Excel. So you could import that list anywhere. Because remember, the email list is gold because as you do your next events, whether they're live or online, now you have a starting point for email blasts, and email blasts, without that is very difficult to. So yeah, to answer the question, that's your email list. And if anybody else wants to let you share, or they're okay with you sending let's say if Kathy and Alana or the New Western Rotary says, hey, Roy, it's okay if you want to send an invite to people if they want to join your auction, great, but that you just want to get permission from them, right? But yeah, no, this email list would be yours.
Yeah, and part of the reason I was thinking, Jesse, if we engage a partner, one of the things up front let's say they're A and B and we're A, we would give you our list, and then I wanted to be just really clear with the partners that we're not going to see your list and you wouldn't see our list, and whether they would then send it out directly, but I guess what happens is, good point here, that people you need the email list so you can send out, let's say, the invite at least, right?
So
Yes,
exactly. I can answer that actually. We have a list at Unity as an example. Let's say we go to a Covenant House. What we're doing is we will ask Covenant House to send that to their members. We don't need their list. They send it to their members, but any people who sign up for items on the bidding process, that ultimately becomes a list that we can then use collectively or individually. So that's understood. There's no, but we don't have access to a partner's total mail list. We just say to them, by the way, part of the conditions of working together is that you promote this heavily within your own mail list.
So there's a couple of ways of doing that now. That's regardless of who your partner is, because unless they're going to do an aggressive email campaign like we do, to get the word out. So I could do it where you would send me your list, they would send me their list, but I would keep them separate. But it would go out to everybody from the event. At the end of the event, when it concludes, that list would be both of yours because it's for that one event, or whoever takes ownership of that event, if that makes sense. But no, I won't intertwine. Like I keep it in two different groups, A and B. So it'll be Roy's group and the Covenant House group. But when I send out the email, so I'll click on both groups, it'll go out to everybody. But everybody that participates, whether it's a few from yours, a few from theirs, whoever participates, that becomes that organization, that auction's primary list, because now they've participated and that's basically giving you permission, right? So
right. And just to finish that up, Jesse, like when that was finished, that email list is basically disappears, right? And there's like, it's not available to you or anybody else to use subsequently.
So no, another great question. So what happens is you don't want it to just disappear. If you think you're going to continue with Jesse or Event Check-in, what we do is we keep it in the folder there, but we don't market to it and all that too. But like at the end of the event, I send it to you. So like for instance, right now, to the heart of the matter or the pot of gold, that sits there, but nobody gets access to it except for I'm the only one that gets to see it, but I can't market to them, right? So
right.
Because once you have it, you don't want to lose it, right? So and
absolutely.
So yeah, so these are all excellent questions. Yes, they would be ownership of your event. You would own the but if you actually said, give us at the end of the event, give us the emails, we'll have it, and delete, I would delete too as well. But you want to
Yeah,
keep a
yeah.
backup because remember, once again, the email list is gold.
Right, all right. And I just say, I had some other, and so my first thought was like in talking to a partner to make sure they felt that they would be comfortable in being in this process and that their email list would not be in some way at jeopardy. And Roy, I thought actually that could apply to both of us, is that in addition to like if Jesse said something out, that we could also send something out saying before that, saying, hey, we are in this auction and you'll see something from blah 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 blah. So it's
Right.
so here, please be aware that this is what we're doing and participate, and there's no and we can go over that. So I think there's and our partner could do the same thing.
So, and I just wanted to add one point to this. So if your partner feels uncomfortable sharing their email list for us to market to where we promote the event, you could say, okay, here's the link. Please, use your own channels to market it, because you want to make sure they're marketing it to their database, because as a partner, they should be, right? So if they feel super uncomfortable by giving me the list so I can put it into the email of the profession, into that certified email program that we use, that's okay. But I never really heard anybody that would say, "Oh my God, you can't have it. We don't want you to do that," because they
Right,
want to see success, right? So in order to have success, it should probably come from that one source. When
Right.
I've had groups say in the past, "Oh, just send us a link and we'll send it out," usually not as effective unless they have a really strong marketing arm.
Yeah. Then they have to have a good marketing / IT group. And so anyway, so I just so two levels, and I think the first one I'm totally satisfied. It's just if we're discussing with a partner and that came up, we can say yes, yeah. Your email list is not going to be jeopardized. It's going to be broadcast and that kind of stuff. Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And remember, and I just wanted to add too, sorry, is since it's a professional email program, a lot of people will think that, well, are you going to send it through Gmail, Hotmail, or Outlook? No, this goes through our cyber security email, and people have the option to unsubscribe, because that's a legitimate way of doing
Right.
marketing campaigns. But if somebody says, well, I'm going to send it through my regular Gmail or group, you can't do that, right?
Yeah.
So because they'll have the option to unsubscribe, whatever they want to do, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay, so can we move to point two, number two?
Yep. Good.
So he wants to clarify the merchant process. After we approach a merchant and they agree to participate in the auction, what and how do we confirm with them the details of their specific offer? And is this put in writing at the moment, or is there a form with a signature, or is this followed up with an email for confirmation? So can you walk us through that, Jesse?
Okay, so I did read that, and I'm assuming that what they're referring to on that question is when you approach, let's say, Brown's Restaurant for a $50 gift card for the auction, that would be the merchant they're referring to, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, as an example. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, so basically there's a standard form that, because you don't want to just be able to call your contacts and say, hey, are you okay to give me something, or what are you going to give me, and just have a verbal, or you jot it down. You do want to create a form that has all this information on it. So let's just take the Brown's Restaurant. You have a contact at a restaurant or an oil change place or a haircut place, whatever, and you say, hey, would you be willing to give us? And I always start high, by the way. You never start low. We start high, because you'd be amazed what they'll give you, like even as a package, right? So let's say they say, okay, hey, we'll give you $100 gift certificate from Brown's. But now you got to find out, okay, you have to give them the parameters. You don't need it specifically right away, but you want to have a date for when you need the physical gift card, because you want to have those handy by towards the end of the event to give out, like we do with Pot of Gold and all that. You want to make sure who the contact person is, what the value of that item is. We determine as a group, or yourselves determine what you want to start that bid at. So if it's a $100 gift card, you can say, Jesse, we're going to start this one at $30 minimum, and it's $10 increments. The higher the value of the item, the more you start higher, and the more higher the increment is. So if it's a trip to Whistler and it's worth $800, well, now you can probably start at $200 or $300, and it's increments of $100 or something like that, right? So you want to have all those details, and all those details that you sent out as an example, that's literally what you would need for each item. So the starting bid, the increments, that's up to you as a group, what you want. The merchant's not going to tell you that. They're going to give you the value. You want from them, you want to get the value. You want to get what the item is, a good description of it. If there's any, what's the word? Not exclusions, or if this is a bad example. If they give you a gift card and they say, but you can't use it on Sundays, well, we want to put that in in the details section, right? Or something like that. So if there's anything to know about, and that usually is more with trips or accommodations, you know, something other than that, it's usually pretty straightforward. There's not a lot of information that's required, but you want to get the value. I'm not a fan of sometimes there are items that are listed as priceless. Like let's say a
I saw
hockey
that.
jersey, you know, like a hockey
Yeah.
jersey signed by one of the, you know, more
Yeah.
popular Canucks now, right? So even though the jersey is only worth $200, but if Elias Pettersson signed it, well, it is priceless because it could be worth $700 now. Who knows? You don't know. So there's
Yeah.
a few things like that. So we would help you get that form ready, what you would require from each one, and then you want to stay up to date with that, right? Because you want to make sure that you do get the physical items at some point. And you got to set the parameters with each organization on that, and it's usually not that difficult. Yeah, did I answer all the questions on that, or am I kind of missing?
Yeah.
So,
There's couple of things. Just to Jesse, I by the way, I went through the other website and I went through actually every item and I looked at it in details and who was quoting and who is bidding. So like it's pretty simple. If you go to Browns and you say, hey, can you give me $100 gift card? Bingo, value is $100. If you go to Whistler and they say, 2 nights accommodation and dinner, I assume they would say, oh yeah, the value of that is $600 or something like that. So there's two. One's pretty clear. Here's a card and it's versus the other one's is kind of so the value is determined in the latter case by, I assume if you're talking about the hotel, they'd say, we think this is what it's worth.
Yeah, exactly. What they think it's worth, and if there's any exclusions. Once again, anything to do with accommodations or travel, there's always something attached to it, like when you can use it, block out dates, that kind of thing, right? So whenever it comes to it, so it gets a little bit more complicated when not complicated, but just a little more questions to ask when it comes to travel and accommodations.
So the next part, though, I'm still unclear. So I go in and I'm thinking, let's say we got 20 people and we're talking to the 20 people and we're saying, okay, this is what we'd like to do. Here's the process. So I'm another person in the team and I'm going to go to Browns.
Right.
So I have this, I approach him now. It sounds like in this case, I'm not talking to him on the phone, or maybe I miss the initial contact could be on phone, but I then would go see them with a form and I get somebody to sign it.
No, you don't have to.
Or yeah, you don't necessarily have to have it signed. I mean, because if a Brown says they're going to give you something, you just need a name. And I've never heard not anyone following through with it, right? So you can do it over the phone. You can call your contacts. If Brown says we're going to give you one, say, okay, great. What's your manager's name? If I need to refer to somebody, you just write it down. You put that down as 100% yes, and then you say, okay, listen, can we come and pick that up in the next 3 days or whatever that's going to look like, whatever you want to do. So you have to make arrangements there. But you don't have to go and get it physically signed. The
And
form
I have done a ton of those, so I know the process. Even hotels. You say to a hotel, I want 2 nights stay. Give me the room rate. So
exactly.
room rate's going, and then they will add. Sometimes they'll add a restaurant to it. Like for instance, the Inn at the Quay, they'll have the boathouse. I go phone the boathouse and say, look, we need. The Quay is giving us 2 nights stay. Can you give us a $50 gift card? Now
exactly.
you're going to have a $500 item, and
you're going to end up with a lot of little items that you can attach to some of the bigger ones. They don't have to come together like that, but you can always mix and match yourself when it's time, when you know what all the items that you have. But yeah, I know Roy is correct. And what I would probably do on your form is have one page form. At the top of it, it'll just say who you are, what you're raising the funds for. It's just like a 1 paragraph. And then on the bottom is what item where you'd like to get. And I can help you with that too. And then you can have it all on 1 page. Then you can email that to them or get their confirmation on the phone, because you want to probably limit driving around and all this and that, right? So you can probably shoot up emails to all your main contacts and kind of go from there.
So how Roy, and this is to both you guys, I phone the Inn on the Quay and I say, oh, and they say yes. So now I need to get that confirmed, and you're saying as long as I've had the manager's name and then I don't know if you followed up with an email to him, but now it's at some point you need to you say you're picking up a card. So that means our team member would have to go to the place, and in the case of a card, you'd have to get.
Well, it might be a card, it might be a certificate. In case of the Inn at the Quay, they'll say, yeah, I'll send it to you online. Just a gift certificate saying you're entitled to 2 nights stay at the Inn at the Quay, value whatever. And that's
right.
It is very uncomplicated. Let's not overly overthink it because it's a process and it's a very simple process. There's no, I mean, I can, my involvement with Rotary is, I'm on the, I can be on the phone the whole afternoon and collect about $6,000 or $7,000 in
Yeah.
items, so it's
Yeah, and
not.
I'm not thinking like Roy, just gonna, you're Mr. Marketeer. So I'm thinking of like if we got 20, 25 people, and some of these people they're not as comfortable in this area. So I'm just thinking about how to make sure they understand the process, and then also that there's no all of a sudden we find that the guy is like, oh no, I never said that or whatever. So I just want to be pretty ironclad about the process. So now this form you're talking about, Jesse, this is a form that let's say we give this form to 20 people and it would have basically who we are, what we're doing, and then the ask of a merchant. Is that what you're saying?
Right, exactly. Like Roy said, you just want to keep it simple. And you're probably going to be forwarding or dropping, like if you're walking around or if you're in a strip mall one day and you're visiting somebody that jump in, go to the other. Always have the copies on hand, and then you can just drop off. Right.
Okay.
But yeah, you want to just keep them handy, keep it short, keep it to one page, everything, and that's it. And not a lot of questions for them, right? So.
Okay. So now let's just that sort of leads into the next one. So what I did was I went on the website. I was looking at there's a big thing called details. There's two parts, Jesse. One is details and one's the logo. So let's just take Browns as an example. I've got a gift card for $100. And so on your website, typically you had the logo of Browns. So somebody had to give that to you. And so the team members, Roy, would have to pull that up, or they'd have to give it to me and say, we got a Browns, and I'd have to go to Browns and just go to their website and pull everything off. And so I'm assuming that's okay legally that we could do that. And then what was I thinking? Oh yeah, the details. You need the details. So in each, let's say, Roy, we have 30 members and they get 3 things. Okay. We need to get the details on the web. Somebody needs to get Jesse would have to be given the details. So when they fill the form out, they would assume, let's say you go in the Inn and the Quay, Inn and the Key, you'd go and say, okay, this is for the next 6 months, and it's Monday to Thursday or whatever. Those details would be on the form.
Yeah, exactly. Because you're going to have to get that details from whatever you get on the form is what's going to go on the website. So you want to make sure that the description of the item, item is very detailed, because the more you have, the more it's appealing to people to bid on, right? If you just say sunglasses, but they're these beautiful Ray-Ban sunglasses, you want to describe them a bit more and go from there. Going back to your logo, some of the items you can put the logo on, but you probably want to request a logo from the organization, because organizations change their logos a lot and they get pissed off when you put the wrong one from the website. Because a lot of people will pull it off from the website, but they'll Google it. They go, oh, there's a logo. And they've changed it now. The color is different, or they put a line through it. And then they see it, they get upset. So your best thing to do is, because your workload is going to be a little bit more heavier this first event. But the second time you do this, you're going to probably go through a lot of these same people again. You're going to have a lot of the information already anyways, right? So that's the beauty of that. So I would definitely confirm the logo and say, hey, can you please send me your current logo? That way the onus is on them. So you're probably going to have a spreadsheet to hit list, or maybe you guys will start a Google Doc between all you who are accumulating the items to say, I'm working on these items. I've got this, waiting for logo, waiting for detail. So you want to have that in place as well too, right? Depending on who's going to be doing the request for items from all the merchants. Have you used the Google
to understand the process? Then let's say that Roy, we have, let's say, a team of 20 to 30 and everybody submits. So what we're going to do is we're going to get those submitted basically to us, but we need to get that to Jesse, and Jesse needs to upload those onto the website.
Well, the Jesse, or we find someone within our group who can do that. And I think
I think, and I highly recommend this. You probably want to, and we would train them. There's all training and all that we can help. And I'm sure Michelle and them would help as well too if you needed some assistance. It's because this is something that we would do, But I think that is something you probably want somebody internal, because once they do it once, it's very easy actually. It doesn't take, it just takes time. And if you have volunteers, they're okay with doing that, right? So we would show them, we would train them, and once they've done 2 or 3, it's pretty easy. Then they get used to then they got to just create the categories, which is easy, and the numbers of the items. We can kind of go from there, right? But if you wanted us to do it, yeah, that's a different story then, right? I would probably just need to know, like, how many items do you think you're planning to accumulate for an event like this? Like, how many do you think?
I noticed, well, Jesse, the last time you had 116 items. And so went from 100 to 216. So I would, here again, a bit premature, because I've sent a note out to Randy saying, here's who I thought were possible team members. And so what I'm looking at is now, this does not include any people from the partner, right? So if we got people from, if the partner stepped up and said, hey, yeah, great idea, and all said a couple of people. So I was sort of looking in the neighborhood of like 150.
Oh, 150 items. I would probably try to get somebody on your team to do that then, because that's getting quite a bit. But which is good though, by the way. It's really good. Like, I'm going to be there for support 100% all the way through. So if you ever get into bind and say, oh my God, our person fell off and they don't want to do it anymore, we have to pick it up. Yeah, we could do that. But I would probably start with someone that you might want to continue with this, or they're a little bit, they're not afraid of technology, and it's very, very easy. It's not really complicated, right? So, but if you wanted us to do it, then I'd have to look at how many items you would probably have, because I got a team as well. Then but they're not volunteers, right? So I got to look at that. So.
So just to clarify that step there, Jesse, when we say, we would say, so let's just say I go to the University Golf Course, or I go to Home Depot, Home Hardware over here, and say, oh, and then they say, yeah, I got a $100 gift card. So I have that information. I have it all clear. I would then, and I have their logo, I have the details. I would just send that to you, and you would upload it onto your website?
On the auction website. Yeah, you probably don't want to do just one at a time, because that would be pretty tedious. The way if we were to be, okay, if you decided to go with us to input the items, I'd have to have a rough idea how many at the beginning. And then I would probably say, once you want to set time limits then as when you want it, because we got to base it around when you want to start the auction as well, right? So I wouldn't be able to just do, here's 2 more, here's 3 more, here's 1 more. It would only, there should be one point of contact that would be sharing that with us, and they would have the format required in order for us to input those items, right? So
but you would upload, like if I sent you, let's say I went to 10 merchants and I had all the stuff, I would send it to you, and then you would load it onto the website, right?
If you wanted us to do it, and once again, going back to what I originally said, if you want us to input the items, remember, we need an image. One of the things on the details on the form is we need a picture of the image of the item.
Right.
So that's usually, you can cut and paste from a website if you need, or you just tell them, or you can just take a physical picture of it. That's not a problem. So if we're going to input it, yeah, we would need to know how many items you think you're going to have at the beginning before the auction starts. And then we could do that, but then there's got to be a system in place for that, because I've done this before where, I got 10 people sending me randomly throughout the night or the day, I got an item, I got another item, like, we can't just randomly, we set times aside to input maybe 5, 10, 15, 20 items, or whatever that's going to look like, right? So, so I think the couple things you got to establish is, do you have anybody on your team that would be willing to take this on, which I think is probably the better option. And if not, that's fine. Then I got to say, okay, I got to allocate time. But now the second part of that is, how many items do you think you'll have, right? Give or take, because then we got to set that time and allocation. And the reason I keep saying it's better for you to find someone, because usually if you got somebody, it's a volunteer and they're not going to, but if I get an assistant to do it, I got to pay them, and then it gets more costly, right? So
just an example of the Rotary then, what I'm hearing from that is that you're saying that the Rotary people loaded it up onto your website.
That's right. I give them access to certain parts of the website. That's correct.
So they would load up the, let's just take Browns. So here's the thing. If I look, here's an example. I don't know if you guys can see it, but let's say here's a thing. Here's Angelina's. Okay.
Right.
So somebody has to set up the picture,
Yeah, right.
which is the logo, and then underneath that there's is the details. And so what happens is the Rotary person, the other people that we were chatting to before, they've actually loaded this up to the website and put the logo in, and then basically well, let's say they're adding, so they're making, saying, oh, we've got 100 now I add one, and it automatically would say, okay, this is item 101, and then you shoot up the picture to the website, and then you fill in the details, and then
So they have access to the website, and they have access to a certain part of it. They upload all that information, including the details, the logo, the price points, the bid, the incremental thing. It's not complicated. It just takes time. And once you get the person who is somewhat techie and understands technology, this is like a simple process, really. It is not complicated.
Yeah, but so you don't actually add, what I'm hearing here then, Jesse, is that you're not really involved in who's setting up the bid limits? That's not automatic. That's got to be determined by each entry.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
that's up to you and your committee, what you want to start at, what you want to do. I always give advice and tips on what to do, depending on the type of item it is. But yeah, you'll be doing all that, whoever's entering the items. Because now, if you have a dedicated person and you send them 3 items, they can input it anytime they want, right? So.
And they come back to me and say, well, we've got this card from Home Depot for $100 or $200. And what kind of increments are we talking about? Well, we can set guidelines. Okay, this one's going to go up in $20, $30 increments, or 20, or whatever we want to do. Start the bidding out at $100, and so that's the kind of information that we give them. So it is uncomplicated. It's work, but it's not a complicated process.
So here, Jesse, once again in the Rotary process.
Jesse, you're muted.
Oh, can you guys give me 1 minute? I'll be right back.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, I don't know, Roy. As I said, I talked to Randy. We were on our call this morning, our focus call, if you want to call it that. And he had definitely said, "Oh yeah, I'll join in." He put it in his calendar. So, in the case of well, I'll wait till Jesse comes back. But
well, we just have to find somebody in our community who is techie and has time, and is willing to take it on.
Well, the reason I'm bringing up these questions is I don't think there is anybody. I think you're looking at them, and so this is why I'm raising these questions, Roy, because I don't. Do you understand?
So yeah, so are you a bit of a techie?
Well, I would have to be, wouldn't I? Because I don't think there's anybody. I don't think there's anybody in the team that would step up to this.
Okay, well then, okay. Welcome.
Yeah. So do you understand the why I'm asking these questions?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So because I think,
but these are legitimate questions that have to be answered.
Yeah, because in the sense of like what's happened, you've done it a number of times, and those people that were on the call, I think there was like probably 3 women.
Yeah.
So I think that they are the ones who were the interface to the system, because there's quite a difference. Is like in before, I thought that maybe Jesse would be doing some of this stuff.
Well, every time he steps in and does something, of course, it raises the cost of his entry.
Yeah.
So we're trying to avoid that. But however, if it's untenable, or if somebody's not able to do it, then that opens up a whole different situation.
Yeah. No, because if I look at the list, there is here I don't see anybody else. So Jesse might. So just to go back to the Rotary example, I think what happens. Let's say they've got 50 Rotary people. They would feed that to, typically there was the people that were on the call before, when we had to. I think there was 2 or 3 women who were on the call. They would feed that to them, and those people were uploading it to your website.
Yeah, exactly. And that I think Michelle took the lead on that. So
Yeah.
Michelle would be a great person to maybe get an idea. Like I said, I do this for other organizations, but I think like I'm looking out for the best interest of your event, especially the first time around, that it might be a good idea to get someone. So Michelle would be a great person to connect with on what's involved. But it's like Roy was saying, it's pretty straightforward. You don't have to be very techy at all. Once you do it, it's kind of like using a spreadsheet and just putting in a couple of numbers. It's not really, if it was really complicated, I would have told you from the start that, hey, all the other pieces to the website are complicated except for the item entry. The item entry is actually not too bad at all, but that is the most consuming, the time consuming part is that part there, right? So I try to really highly recommend to the organizations. I think you can easily find some, but if you can, we can definitely help, right? Even if we have to, I don't charge an arm and a leg, but still the assistant's doing it. I got to pay them. That's the thing, right? But I'd always try to recommend you try to get something.
Yeah, so it's totally. Yeah, okay. And just we went over this before, but just to confirm, like in terms of your model, once the bid process is going on, everybody has to submit a credit card, and so basically your system collects, does all the financial work in terms of that. Just if you can review that whole process. I just want to make sure we're good on the financial piece.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, no, and once again, great questions. The financial piece is right at the onset of the event. I always input your organization's banking info, and we confirm that what that is. It's all, and the thing with the auctions are, there is really very little money going through your bank account until the end of the auction when you have all the successful bidders. So first thing is we put your banking info. I don't do mine. There are some organizations that want me to do it all for them, and then we just send the money later. I don't like to do that because I don't like to get my money into my bank. So this is going to go straight into your bank account. That's the one thing. Secondly, whenever somebody is just viewing the items, the credit card is not is not required if you're just looking to view items. Now, once you want to place a bid, you have to have the credit card on file. Now that's all encrypted. I don't see anybody's credit card, either does the organization. Sorry, that's all encrypted. So nobody has to worry about who sees my card, who doesn't. Like for the pot of gold. Sorry, I might need to get some water here. For the pot of gold, there was 2 people at the end whose credit cards were either compromised or they had expired or whatever. So I had to send them an email, and they actually have to go in to their account, which is really easy to do, and just put the new credit card info in, like you do at the very beginning there when you first put it in. So it's very, very straightforward. But there's only 2 out of all those bidders that had that. So it's a small amount, right? So we don't see any of the credit card info at all.
Yeah. In this case, so this is an interesting, like in the case of so Rotary is simple because it's going into Rotary. If we got a partner, so what would happen is, and we said, hey, we're going to pick up the cost and we're going to split the revenues 50-50. In the initial process, all the money would be coming into our bank account, and the money only goes in once the bid's finished, right? It's the bid is complete.
Yes. Yeah, and I was going to say though too that what we probably should do too is we can set up a donation button that is just strictly for donations, and I'll explain that to you. At the very top, you'll see a donation button. We could always have a little tab as you scroll down the website as well. So that donation button actually helps to an event like this, you probably get an extra couple of grand out of it. People just donating, and those are the people that they might not find any of the items of interest, but they want to support the cause. But they'll just do straight donations. So why not have that on? It doesn't cost you anything, right?
Yeah.
And then so if those transactions are coming through, so you might have a few trickle through the bank account. But I'd say about 95% of all your transactions with an online auction is always at the end, right? When you're doing like a 50-50 or something, well, that's different because you're getting those all day long and everything that you're seeing activity.
Yeah.
But with an auction, it's literally on the last day. And then we help you with the reporting, the reconciliation. So you'll see all the reports, you'll see all the costs for the credit card and what it is. So it's very easily did. And the reason the ladies from the Rotary Club, because we've tried 2 different pieces of software, and this is the one they prefer because the other one was, they did a good job, but for reporting, it was not very good at all. So we always stick with this one.
Right. Okay. So at the end then, Jesse, what happens is now we have, let's say 100 items that we've got. And then you would send us the list of item A, and Fred won that, and item B, Paul won that, or because we'd then have to marry the item with who's going to show up and pick it up, right?
Yeah, at the end, another great question. At the end, you're gonna have an extremely detailed report of all the transactions. There'll be the donations on one side. There'll be another report that shows you who the successful bidders were and how much they owed and if they paid or not. Because at the end of the event, you don't have to call these people to say pay, pay, pay. It automatically charges their credit card, so you don't have to do any of that chasing them around and say pay. All we gotta do at the end is, if there's a couple that there usually is one or two where, like I said, the credit card has expired or compromised or it's maxed out or whatever, and that you might have to contact a couple of those people. But I tell you who they are, and then once I say okay, and I send you it'll show you the batch reports of who's paid and how much they paid. So you're going to get a very detailed report at the end of the event on how much money, who got what item, which items, because sometimes there's people that'll buy, 10 items from you, right? Because they're just like to spend and they like the cause and you have extra money to burn, right? So you might get people like that too.
Yeah, no, and and I'm not sure if you're close to this part, if you've got, like, say in the last one, 116 items, and you got a 2-day window, does everybody actually show up?
Yes,
To pick up the items?
yep, they do.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
and that's in the email that we send out to you. You've probably seen the last email.
Yeah.
Then I can actually send an email just to the successful bidders.
Right,
Say, hey,
right.
just another reminder that you won, and you can pick up the stuff at the end of the key between these 3 days, between 5 and 7 p.m. So that reminds them of that, right? And then as they come in to collect, you want to check off, okay, so and so won, so they got this, they received it, and then I'm sure there's gonna be a little bit of administration, right? Where we might have to call a few people that are taking the sweet time.
And Terry, Sarah was part of that, putting all those items together and putting the, packaging them and whatever. So
Yep.
I'm sure she'd be more than happy to help out.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Putting together a team. No, it was Sarah, my wife, and so putting together a team to package them and do whatever. So I wouldn't get too concerned about that.
So,
Yeah, I know.
and so just I noticed when I went through the website, as like I said, I went through each item. I noticed there was a bunch of I'm looking at the bid, and here you got just the bid numbers, or the bid identifier. So I noticed that, to your point, there's a number of people, like the golf thing. I think was the same person who there was four for Mayfair. I think there was 4 opportunities, and it looked like the same person was bidding on all of them. So how many people were of the 116? How many different people actually bid on the process? I don't know if you have that information.
I don't have it in front of me, no. I'd have to run that report, but that goes back to how many people you promote this event to, right? So that's why the email list at the beginning is very important. You're promoting it to your channels, your social channels, or whatever your partners are. Because it's like opening up a brand new business, but if nobody knows you're there, they're not going to come to you, right? So very similar to that. That's why it's a little bit more administrative at the beginning. And that's why the email marketing piece is so important, right? To get that message out to everybody. So it's kind of a relative question that's, based on relativity, I guess, is, if we got 10 people that we send an email to, well, you're going to have probably 6 people, contributing, right? If we send it to 100, you might have 60 people contributing to the bidding process.
Yeah. Well, here again, it's only because I was going through each item in detail, and I was noticing some patterns. And one of the patterns was that people, if I think, like, for example, there was 2 bikes, the people who it was the same, it looked like the same guy was bidding on them. And I could see, like, oh, okay, I brought this, I'm going to support the process, And so whoever got the golf thing, it looked like that. First of all, they could probably be golfers, and they're going, hey, 2 things: I want to golf, and B, I'll support the thing. So it just it was interested in terms of within the focus. The other thing I noticed, by the way, in the last one, there was probably of 116 items, 25 of them were provided by Rotary.
Okay.
So I don't know if you can speak to that, Roy. Is like these are items where
No,
they're obviously paid for by Rotary.
Well, some of them were business owners who are in Rotary,
right?
So so similar situation with Unity or with Covenant House, there'll be a lot of business people who own a
Yeah.
business, and through their business, they donate whatever. So, and they put their name to it. So, yeah, there's a combination of many
Like,
different aspects.
you know, a good example to that, Roy, is, you know, I could give you a gift card from Browns, but it comes from Jesse City.
Yeah,
Right? So, you know, so it'll be depending on who wants to get the credit for supplying that item, right? So,
yeah.
and I do want to go, sorry, go ahead.
Cap's Bicycle will provide a bicycle, but then they also sponsor a card.
Yeah.
You know, so you get a cross section of many different suppliers.
And you know, and going back to, I don't think uh, it's as administrative as you might think for people to come and collect the items at the end of the event, because the Heart of the Matter has 400 items, and they do it in the exact same way, where they give them that week span. I'm sure there's a few stragglers after the fact. So, what if you have the details laid out? They will come between that time frame, because they want the people that want win these items. They wanted those items back, right? So,
Yep.
so they will come
Yeah.
and collect.
Well, it's an interesting piece I never thought about, actually. Pick up your items and the
But you don't
and
want you don't want to be
you got
driving all
things
over
like
the place.
bike
You don't want to be
physical
driving all
items
over the
for
place dropping them off, right? So that would defeat. I mean, unless you have time to drive it to everyone and drop them off, you can.
No,
but
no, you
no,
have
you
that.
don't want to do that.
No.
No, you want to put the onus on them, right? So
You set up 3 different nights.
yes,
At Unity from 6:30 till 9 or 6:30 till 8:30,
right.
and then you say, "Come on down and get them." And you know, and if, at some point, there probably maybe 2 or 3 who are lagged about, and you say, "Okay, we've got your stuff here.
Right.
Keeping it until you drop by, and we're open on Sunday."
Exactly. And that's
Well,
a
no,
good idea.
it's just Roy. I was just thinking, like, well, when I was over there, I thought, oh, you know, what we can do is we can use the room up at the top that we used to meet in,
Yeah,
because it's basically. But then I just thought, okay, if we had 2 bicycles, that might be a little more.
Well, we gotta get
difficult.
ahead of ourselves. We haven't got 2 bicycles at this point, but I understand.
I wasn't actually thinking of physical. I'm thinking, like, you know, if you had cards and certificates and like all that stuff, pretty easy to put in a box, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But
So
anyways, so that pretty much wraps it up. Questions for me, Jesse. I guess maybe the last one just to close on is, and I think Roy sent you this, is more about the costing for Unity.
Yeah, I think I laid it on the last email there.
I'll forward it over, and Jesse, you're gonna put it on a 1-page proposal. Did you do that?
Well, no, what I did was I sent you that one. You know, there's no point in me putting in a proposal unless it's going to get accepted, right? Because I put all the details on that. Did you get the one that I sent? If you find somebody to do the items, it'll be this much approximately. And if it's a go ahead, then what I do is I kind of just put it all with the addendum and all that, and I'll put it all on there for you.
Perfect. Okay.
Yeah, and so can you clarify in that process then, Jesse, 1A, we do all the work as in Rotary, and B, we need your help.
So you wouldn't be doing all the work. You would just be doing the items, which is the one piece of the items. I would do. I think I did send you the item. I think I sent you the addendum. I don't know if you can pull that up there. Right?
Yes, I think you did, man. Let me just see if I can find
That's all highlighted on there, Terry.
Oh, is it? Maybe I missed that then.
Okay, hold on.
I may have just sent it to Roy.
I will send it off and to Terry and to Randy. Yeah, there's some details on that, and
okay.
Yeah.
And that lists everything that we're going to be doing. So other than that, the only thing that's not on there, well, I think it is. I did put it on there. You might want us to.
Just
so as far as setting up the actual website, creating it, and then I have to work with you to do all the design. I mean the wording and getting all that in there. The only thing your crew has to worry about is putting the items in. I do all the tech support. If there's any issues along the way, you might have questions. I figure all that out. At the end, we do all the reconciliation. I do all the email marketing piece. I try to help promote it through other channels as well too, as a kind of something that I try, because I want it to be successful, right? So.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay.
Good. Well, guys, I think that certainly answers all my questions.
Hold on a second. Let me just do something here.
So, Jesse, thank you for your time. Appreciate that.
Oh yeah, no problem. Anytime.
Okay. Alrighty. Good enough. I'm trying to find something, but I can't find it. So appreciate your time, Jesse. Really.
Yeah, no, for sure. And just to go back to Terry's point, but I did highlight on the addendum all the items that we do. And if you can't find that, let me know, Roy, and I'll resend it to both of you.
Yeah, no problem. And I may ask you to resend that email because I'm looking for it. I can't find it, but I'll look.
Yeah, no worries. So if I
Okay,
find it here when I hang up here, I'll just shoot it off to you.
alrighty. Thank you, guys. And Terry,
Appreciate that, guys.
And then,
Appreciate your time.
I just had a quick question. If you were to go ahead, what is your time frame to um, actually have, if everything falls into place, like how you would like it to, when would you think you would want it to go live?
good question. We don't have that answer because
Yeah.
we haven't sat down and did a timeline. We're going to set a
Okay.
date and then work backwards. Typically, and now, and you can probably help me out on this since you've done this multiple times. The ideal time, in fact, people usually shy away around Christmas time, but December people are a lot more willing to spend money. So
Mhm.
I'm never afraid of December as being a timeline. However, you know, January might be more, and it might be actually be sooner. I
I
would,
would, you know, if I was, I would probably, I think December is a great time. Leading up to December, leading up to Christmas. If it was a 50-50 or something like a raffle, I'd be a little bit different. But with your auction, you probably, let's just say if that's the timeline you're looking at, I would probably do where you start the auction. You know, you probably want to run it for 3 weeks, um, just like, you know, pot of gold and all that. You probably want to start, let's say, you know, the latter part of November, the first week of December, and you want it to finish just a little bit before Christmas. So maybe people want to use that as Christmas items or give them to somebody or whatever that can look like, right? So
so if we were to set a timeline, and I'm just kind of spitballing here, let's say we set a timeline for the first week in December.
right.
Can you send us a kind of back up the whole thing and say, okay, if you have the first week of December, you'll need X number of days for the event to happen, and then pre that, so we can know, we can get a kind of a deadline dates for different aspects of the event. Can you do that for us?
I could just give you. I mean, what I would do is, you know, you probably, because it's your first time doing it, you probably want to give yourself 2 months,
Okay.
right? So you want to start, you know, accumulating the items and everything else that we're going to need. I would probably start. I would give yourself 2 months, being the first time around.
So in other words, if it's going to be in first week in December, or the first 2 weeks of December, then we would need November, October. So we would need to start really going to work on this
October.
October.
And you can probably start even sooner. And the thing is, October is a good, fun time where people are happy, they're more positive, and they're more willing to probably give. Right? But after Christmas, it gets a little bit more difficult because, you know, as we all know. So I think if you started like late September, I mean, the only reason I say late September too, that's only just to give you a head start. You don't need to. You could actually start first weekend in October, second week. You still got more than enough time. But that all depends on how many people you have on your team to accumulate these items. Right? If you only have the two of you, well, you might need longer. If you got
You know,
if you got 20 of you,
and we could have someone, a partner, who could
yeah,
have a tech person who could take this on. So let's
exactly, right? So
So
So-
Jesse,
that's what
so Jesse, in terms of timing, because we were sort of originally thinking about October, and quite honestly, if we got if say by the end of this week, which would be tomorrow, no, it'd be 2 days. This is Wednesday. And if we had by Monday, if we had the partner lined, we would have all August and September to get it going in October. Because I sort of got the sense that October, maybe even later October, early November would be a better time than December. But what's your feedback? What's your response to that?
Oh, you mean to conclude the auction or?
No. If the auction started October 15th.
No, there's
ran
nothing
for
wrong with that. No, I think it's fine. And then you'll probably want to end it around the first week in November, towards the end of the first week in November sometime, like maybe right before Remembrance Day or something.
Yeah. So, but do you think, is there a better, from your experience, and just from a market sense, and is October better than November, or November better than December, or what?
I mean,
Or,
I do like that. I've done a couple events for BC Fisheries and the Salmon, BC Salmon. I forgot the name of the organization. And we did it around Christmas time. And because it's Christmas, there was a lot more hype around this. So I think that's a little bit more excitement because it is Christmas. But because you got to remember though, just like the POG auction we just did, it starts off gangbusters, gets really going. And then unless you're adding some items in between, you just got, or we're inviting more people to it, new people to the event, it kind of slows off a bit. Then towards the last 4 or 5 days, it goes crazy again because now everybody's competing to get the items, because now they know they only got
Right.
4 or 5
Right.
days, right? So
Yeah.
it kind of depends on how many items you have, the type of items you have, how many people we're promoting to. I'm definitely a fan of adding items in between, because then you got a reason to send out other emails to them, and they're not going to delete or unsubscribe because they're getting annoyed, right? So I'm
Yeah.
definitely a fan of adding, you get your main items out there, you save about maybe 10 items for as you're going through. You add another 2 items in 1 week, and then you add another 3 or 4 the next week, and then it just creates a little bit more buzz, right? So I don't think there's no bad time to do it. Those out of those 3 months that you're referring to.
But it
I
would be
would-
certainly better than not like January, February, probably not a good time to do it.
Well, I probably wouldn't do it then, because I don't know if you're affiliated with, because that's what the heart of the matter is as well too, right? So I don't know if you work on that too, or if that's going to be. I don't think that's got nothing to do with this stuff.
No,
right?
no.
So
This is a
No.
separate entity completely.
that's totally separate. So yeah, I mean January, February. No,
I'm just
if I was-
thinking
if I was
pe-
gonna- if I was
people
gonna
are
do
going to be
Christmas
looking at
stuff-
they're going to be looking at their Christmas stuff. But by the way, on just as another aside, you reminded me of something I forgot. I also looked at on the website when people were buying, and typically, so if it opened up within the first 5 to 10 days, there was a lot of action, and then there
Right.
was hardly any action, and then the last probably, I don't know, week or something, like there's a lot of action.
Right. Yeah, and that's what I was just referring to before there, right? So I would, being your first time around, I would be more inclined to do it before January. I think more people are gonna be inclined to
Yeah.
give you items.
Yeah,
Because
me too.
you get sometimes, unless you've had traction on an event like this before, like Heart of the Matter, obviously they can contact their regular donors, and we know they're all going to give it to them. I would probably lean towards concluding the auction sometime in early December, or close to something like that. Like
Right,
having
before,
because you get the Christmas hype and everything too.
yeah, before December, I would agree. I think, yeah,
So so you want to start the auction, let's just say, last week in November or something like that, and get the hype going, and then make it some sort of a Christmas theme as well. Why not, if you can, if you're able to do that. And some of the emails that we send out, I can brand the emails, the email marketing to be more Christmas oriented. Buy yourself here, bid on this for a gift for your mom and dad, just anything, right? So we can do a little bit more around that as well too. So then
Yeah,
people get,
okay.
oh, I might as well bid because I need to buy Christmas items anyways. I'll bid on this and I'm supporting the cause. Right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think pre-Christmas is, I'm just going, my intuitive feel is it's a better time. When I say pre-Christmas, I'm talking like
Up
October,
until the
November.
first of the month.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, I've got to run, guys.
Well.
Thank you, guys. Really appreciate your time.
Yes.
Okay,
No.
Terry, you and I'll be in touch. Jesse, we'll
Yep.
be in touch with you. We're going to set some dates and get this happening.
That
Yeah.
sounds good. I look forward to it. I think it's gonna be awesome.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you,
Ciao,
buddy.
Bambinos.
Take care.
Take care.
I'm